What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to the Locked On Pirates podcast. I am, of course, your host, Ethan Smith, who does the most. It is Wednesday, October 5th, and that means the Pirates play their last game of the season today. So we're going to be previewing the last game of the season later in today's podcast, but we're also going to talk about why Loss 100 last night was a microcosm of what this entire season was for the Pittsburgh Pirates. On tomorrow's episode, we're going to recap the season as a whole with some of my favorite moments, things I liked, things I didn't like. And then on Friday, with the postseason starting, we're going to be previewing the entire postseason as well as me giving my postseason predictions as far as the bracket is concerned, with the bracket already set for the postseason. All of that and more on today's episode of the Locked On Pirates podcast. Again, as mentioned, I am your host who does the most, Ethan Smith. Make sure you follow me on Twitter at MVP Ethan _ Ethan or at Locked On Pirates for all of your coverage of the Pittsburgh Pirates, the minor leagues, and baseball as a whole. Today's episode is brought to you by a new sponsor, Simply Safe. We're going to talk about them more in just a little bit. But with that said, let's get into today's episode, everybody.
You are Locked On Pirates, your daily Pittsburgh Pirates podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome back to that Pirates podcast, everyone. I am, of course, your host who does the most, Ethan Smith. Hope you guys, again, are all having a phenomenal Wednesday, October 5th. And wow, I watched the entire game last night, as I'm sure most of you did. And the Pittsburgh Pirates lose their 100th game of the season last night in what was just one of those games that just felt like a 2022 Pirates game, where the Pirates come out of the gate swinging. I mean, Andujar grounds out to third, but he scores Cruz. They get on the board with one. So they're up 1-0 through the first inning already. I'm like, okay, things are going good, but obviously not insurmountable. They give up three in the top of the third inning and then answer with arguably the best offensive inning they have had all year. They score 6 runs in the third inning, with G1 Bay scoring on a Dakota Hudson wild pitch. Castillo singles to center. Andujar doubles to deep center. Sawinski singles to center. Gamble singled to right. Bay reached on an infield single. And after that, the Pirates were up 7-3 after the third inning. After that inning, it really felt like, okay, the Pirates are going to squeak out a win here. And going into today, it would have been a big game where they could have avoided 100 losses. On the flip side, the seventh inning comes around, and the Cardinals just beat around some guys. They get 3 runs in the top of the seventh from Donovan, Dickerson, and Dickerson. They tied the game up at 7. There were chances for the Pirates to win this ball game late. Kevin Newman, of course, in the bottom of the ninth, had that very interesting call at home where I definitely thought he was safe. I really did. But it was one of those really close calls that, with him being called out on the field, there wasn't much to overturn it. So I did understand why the call stood. Juan Yepes comes in the top of the 10th, gives the Cardinals an 8-7 lead. And I've never seen a player try so hard to give his team a solidified chance to at least make an attempt at tying the game up than I did with O'Neal Cruz last night. That play he had on the stolen base where he forced a bad throw and then got to third to give Brian Reynolds basically the idea that all Brian Reynolds had to do was get on base somehow to score Cruz besides a base on balls. I commended that. He played really hard. And you look at the box score from last night, and you wouldn't be able to tell that the Pirates lost this game. I mean, the only person not to have a hit in the Pirates lineup yesterday were Jason DeLay and Tyler Heineman. Kevin Newman was 0 for 1 on a pinch hit, but, you know, you're talking about a 3 for 6 outing from O'Neal Cruz, a 2 for 4 outing from Brian Reynolds, which featured 2 walks. Castro was 2 for 5. Andujar was 1 for 5 with 2 RBIs. Sawinski and Hayes were both 2 for 4. Gamble was 1 for 5. Jason DeLay was 0 for 0. He didn't even register anything. So you look at that game last night, and again, I said it a lot that 100 losses didn't really matter too much. You want to improve numerically if you're on the roster, and that's something that I think the players were trying to do because they've been playing good baseball down the stretch. But that loss was a microcosm of what this season has been for the Pittsburgh Pirates. Winnable games that they lose. This Pirates team could have such a better record if they would have just closed out games that they should have closed out. One of the more recent examples, yeah, you remember when Aaron Judge hit number 60? Because I do. 8-4 in the bottom of the ninth inning against the New York Yankees in Yankee Stadium. You lose 9-8 on a Giancarlo Stanton grand slam. There's a major list of games this year that the Pirates had won. I mean, you look at just like let's go to September for a second. They lose 2-1 to the Cardinals. They lose 6-5 to the Cubs, 3-2 to the Cubs, 9-8 to the Yankees, 4-3 to the Mets, 4-3 to the Cardinals again, 7-5 to the Cardinals. I mean, 4-3 to the Blue Jays. There's so many games that this Pirates team was in that were winnable games. That either the starting pitching from Keller, Contreras, Brubaker, whoever, gave them a chance to win, or the offense showed up and the bullpen threw it away. It's frustrating. And I'm not going to be here to tell you that it's not. I'm going to be an optimist about these things. I'm going to tell you to be optimistic about these things. But it's frustrating. It's frustrating watching a team like the Pittsburgh Pirates, who this year were a much better constructed roster than they were last year, had a lot more young talent up this year, had a lot more bright spots, which we're going to get into tomorrow when we review the season, than last year. Yet if they lose today against the St. Louis Cardinals to end the season at PNC Park, if they lose today, they will have the same record they had last season. That's impressive. That's very impressive if they decide to somehow pull that off. To have a 61-101 record back-to-back years, and I'll read a tweet that I tweeted about this last night. The Pittsburgh Pirates possibly having the same exact record as last season is almost as impressive as me making dinner for myself today. In the end, the front office and I share something in common. We're content with mediocrity. Of course, I'm throwing a little shade at myself there. But you look at the last 3 years, and this team was this front office, actually, not the team as a whole, but the front office mainly, has preached the fact that we're in a rebuild. We understand that. We're in a rebuild. If not for the COVID 2020 season, the Pirates would have 3 straight 100 loss seasons. They were 19-41 at the end of the COVID year. That's on track for a lot of losses. I'm not going to do the math for you. I did do the math on something, though, that I thought you guys would find interesting. Is since their last postseason appearance in 2015. Keep this in mind, guys. The Pirates haven't been in the playoffs since I was in high school. Now I'm doing a podcast about the Pittsburgh Pirates at the age of 23 going on 24. That's how long this team hasn't been in the playoffs. Second longest drought in the majors behind the Angels and the Tigers. Since their last postseason appearance in 2015, the Pirates have posted a 445 and 583 record with one winning season in 2018. That winning season in 2018, 82 and 79 because they didn't play the final game. Brighter days are ahead, I'm sure, but man, that's a tough pill to swallow. That's what I tweeted last night. I had a slew of tweets last night about this. And also, you know, this is the first time the Pirates had multiple seasons in a row where they lost 100 games since the 1950s. It's frustrating, man, because you look up and down this roster and there's actually stuff there. There is. Contreras, Keller, Brubaker, Reynolds, Sawinski, Mitchell, Kanan Smith and Jigba, Castro, Hayes, Newman, Cruz. Andujar has shown some stuff since he got here. It's frustrating, man. Because then you look at you look at the playoffs and you see that Tampa Bay and Cleveland are both in the postseason. Why can't that be the Pirates? I know the answer why. It's because they choose not to do it. But it's getting more and more increasingly frustrating that this team just continues to preach the idea of a team-centric environment and a environment of improvement, but yet the Pirates, again, with a loss today, could very well see all that improvement go out the window numerically. Now, again, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that this team hasn't improved from what it was at the beginning of the year and that it hasn't improved from what it was last year. Remember Kai Tom? Remember Josh Van Meter? Remember Yoshi Tsutsugo? This team has improved a lot. And it's still very young. It's a young team. But at some point, this front office is going to have to put its foot down and improve this roster. And that's where I think the offseason is going to be huge. Huge for this team. I mean, you have plenty of options to trade for, plenty of options to sign. Do it. What's the worst that can happen? Milwaukee's probably going to sell a little bit because they didn't make the playoffs this year. The Cardinals are going to be good. Are you convinced the Reds are going to be good in 2023? Are you convinced the Cubs, as they currently sit, are going to be good in 2023? That cements you right there in the top of the middle or potentially the second best team in the division if you just put some effort into building the team. And I'm not asking for a superstar signing. I'm not. Sign a first baseman. Sign an innings eater. Or go trade for one. It's not that hard. It can't be. We've seen the Guardians do it. We've seen the Rays do it. We've seen the Athletics do it. We've seen the Royals do it. We've seen the Tigers do it. Do they do it consistently? No. That's just the nature of baseball. But at some point, you have to say, we're tired of losing. And I'm hoping the 2022 offseason is that for the Pirates. And again, going back to it last night, that loss was a microcosm of what this team has been this year and years past. Showing signs of optimism and having them ripped away from you because of incompetent decisions by a front office that tells you that the team is improving. I'll let you guys take that as you will. Before we preview the final game of the season, which kicks off at 4:05 Eastern today at PNC, I want to let you guys know about the wonderful people over at Simply Safe. The numbers don't lie. In the last decade, over 4 million people have chosen Simply Safe Home Security to protect their home. You don't earn the trust of that many people without doing something right. At Simply Safe, your safety is the only thing that matters. I know because I use Simply Safe in my own home. I live downtown, so got to keep it safe. They protect you with cutting edge security technology powered by 24/7 professional monitoring agents who always have your back. Here's why I love it. You know, with 24/7 professional monitoring, Simply Safe's agents call you the moment a threat is detected and dispatch police or first responders in an emergency, even if you're not home or can't be reached. Simply Safe blankets your home in protection with advanced sensors for every room, window, and door, HD security cameras for inside and outside your home, as well as smarter ways to detect motion that only alert you when a threat is real. And even if hazard sensors that instantly detect fire, floods, and other threats to your home, Simply Safe still has them on lock. Our monitoring experts use proprietary advanced response technology to visually confirm when a break in is real so you can get the highest priority police dispatch. Customize the perfect system for your home in just a few minutes at simplysafe.com/locked on MLB. Save 20% on your Simply Safe security system when you sign up for an interactive monitoring plan and get your first month free. So visit simplysafe.com/locked on MLB to learn more. There's no safe like Simply Safe. So the Pittsburgh Pirates go one more time in 2022. This will wrap up my second full season covering this team. And man, it hasn't been a wild ride. You guys have grown this podcast to heights I didn't expect possible. And it's only going to continue to grow through the off season when we have some fun times here. But they do it one more time, and Johan Oviedo will start against the St. Louis Cardinals this afternoon. And I've liked what I've seen from Oviedo a little bit. I really want him to go ahead and have a good outing. And this is just what I want to see from the Pirates. I want to see them dominate St. Louis. I want to see them go out and win like 10-0. Can they do it? Yes, they can. I'm tired of saying they can't. Yes, they can. Especially against this model of St. Louis, it's probably not starting anybody today as they look forward to the playoffs on Friday. I want the Pirates to literally go into PNC Park today with Black Air Force energy like the Steelers did in week 1 against the Bengals. I want to see Johan Oviedo absolutely deal. I want to see the pitching staff play well. I want to see the offense play well. Give Pirates fans a good thing to think about going into the offseason. The last thing we want to think about is losing 2 of 3 to St. Louis's taxi squad at the end of 2022. Go into 2023 winning a series against St. Louis, sweeping the Reds, ending your season 5-1. I think it's possible. It should be. And a new stat that I like to throw out there, you guys remember the whole 5+ runs thing. It's now shifted. The Pirates are 45-23 in games when they record at least 8 hits. That means the Pirates only won 16 games this year when they didn't record 8 or less hits. So if they recorded 7 hits or less, they only won 15 games. That's just despicable. I know I say the word despicable very fast, but that is just something that grinds my gears. We'll see the lineup today. We're recording this morning. I'm not sure what I want to see. I don't really care. I just want the team to go out there and play well. Brian Reynolds, by the way, has a chance to get to 65 RBIs. He really turned his season around, batting 262, 27 home runs, 62 RBIs. Will Crow and Zach Collins, of course, are the only unavailable players for the Pittsburgh Pirates, as I see here. And Man, just to go back to the conversation earlier, I want the Pirates to win today just for numerical improvement in terms of record. But the fact that that's what is slightly bringing me joy in watching this game today is sad. And for you guys who are probably bigger fans than me, it's even more sad for you. Because, again, as I'll get into tomorrow, the core for this team is starting to find itself a little bit. You're starting to see the core of what this team is going to be for a while. It's only going to get better. And you heard me talk with Sully on Monday. That's up on Locked on MLB today. This team is only going to get better. Now, does better mean playoffs? I haven't seen enough. Does better mean they could win 70 something games next year? Sure. I expect them to do that next year. Anything less than 70 wins next year is a lost season again. 70 and 92 to the naked eye is a lost season. But if you improve by 10 wins next year, that's good. And I expect that from the Pirates next year. Because they need to stop treating this team like it's an egg in their hand. Just because an egg is in your hand doesn't mean it's going to break at the slightest hand movement. If I have an egg in my hand right here and I move this way or this way, maybe more that way because it'd be out of my hand at that point. But if I barely move my hand, that egg's not falling out of my hand. Stop building the team scared. Go out and spend some money. Make a trade or two there. Do anything you have to do to make this team better. Just do it. Because guess what? At the end of the day, if the Pirates still suck, at least you went out and tried. That's why I commended the Tigers this year. They at least went out and tried. They signed Eduardo Rodriguez and Javi Baez. They bring up Tarek Skubal and a lot of their top guys. It's just one of those things for me where, and you guys can kind of tell that I'm short-sighted here on this. It's one of those things for me that as a baseball fan, I watch the Atlanta Braves, the Cleveland Guardians, the Tampa Bay Rays, the Seattle Mariners, teams that the Pirates can kind of relate to. The Braves, I would say no. But the Guardians and the Rays, for sure, the Pirates, payroll-wise, can attribute themselves to those teams. 2023 needs to be the turning point. It does. It has to be the turning point. Be that contention for a wild card spot or just improving by a lot more. I'm tired of having to be the optimist for this team because I want everybody to be optimistic about this team at some point. I want us to be able to look up and down the roster and have a sense of optimism that this team can make the playoffs. I shouldn't have to think about it. I should be able to do it. That's what I want from this team. Today, especially, I want the Pirates to go out there, play the best game of the season that they played all year, win a game, improve numerically, go into this offseason in 2022, 2023, bring out a very, very good product in 2023, or at least a semi-good product that can be competitive and show that they are trying to improve this team. With that said, guys, thank you so much for tuning into the Locked On Pirates podcast today here on Wednesday, October 5th. I am your host, Ethan Smith, who does the most. Make sure you follow me on Twitter at MVP_Ethan or at Locked On Pirates. Go follow Locked On MLB and Locked On MLB Prospects as well. With that said, guys, I will see you on the flip side.